I wanted to come on for a little bit and talk about my reel from yesterday. It said that I want to stop pretending and I want everyone to stop pretending like this is a normal school year. I kind of explained some of it in my caption, but I figured I would come on here and talk about it a little bit because I got a lot of messages and comments that you guys are, or most of you are feeling the same way. And if you are not, like, good for you. Let me know how. But if you are feeling the same way, you are definitely not alone. I think part of the trouble is that since many of us are in person, and I know some of you still are not, but since many of us are in person, whether it's the parents or administration, thinks that things are back to normal. And I hate using the word normal, but in this case, I mean like it was maybe 3 years ago, like pre-pandemic, a typical year. But I think that it's very much not a typical year, and a lot of our students, as you guys know, are coming back from being home or even just being in the hybrid situation that we had here, and they're not knowing how to function in school. I teach second grade, and I sometimes feel like we are talking about things that get talked about when kids are in kindergarten. We had a grade level meeting yesterday. One of the teachers was saying that one of her students didn't even know how to sit crisscross when they were doing a read aloud. Like the little tiny silly things like that you would learn in kindergarten, first grade, if that. The same teacher was also sharing that when she was doing a read aloud, they were doing it outside, and she brought a big blanket out and they all sat down and she started reading, and some of the kids started like talking to each other or like literally getting up and switching seats mid read aloud. And she like paused for a second and was like, she wanted to say like, guys, you know how to sit for a read aloud, like sit down, but like they don't know how to sit for a read aloud, which like is mind blowing, because by the time you get to second grade, you do know how to just sit for a read aloud, typically. But this year is just so different, and it's the little things like that. Like those are just tiny examples, but those little things are like adding up and making it really hard right now. It's making it hard for us teachers to like teach and know what to teach and know what pace to teach at. And not for nothing, but we're still sitting 3 feet apart. We have masks on. The kids aren't able to sit in groups, work together. With the masks, they can barely even understand each other when they raise their hand to answer a question. The kids across the room can't even hear what they're saying. So it's all of these like little tiny examples that, to me at least, are adding up to like a big issue, that this is just not a typical year. And I think that we are being expected to move forward and move on as if things are status quo, like they were pre-pandemic, and they just aren't. And it's really hard. It's like really, really hard. And I'm really lucky. My principal here is very understanding, and he's saying like, take as long as you need to go over routines and procedures and the SEL stuff that like the kids missed out on for the past year and a half. Like, do that. But even though he is so supportive, it's still hard because we still have our supervisors and other admin telling us that, you know, certain math chapters need to be taught by the end of the marking period, and certain phonics units or writing things need to be done by the end of the marking period. And we just feel this pressure like we would have felt pre-pandemic. Last year, they let up on some of those things, so it felt better. And like half of our kids were home all year, so it just felt like those expectations were lowered. But I just feel like now those expectations are being brought back up, and it's not exactly fair or just, because it's not a normal year. I'm really lucky though that my co-teacher is really understanding and like agrees with me about all this stuff, and we have agreed to just meet our students where they are. You know, we're not trying to catch them up, you know, they're not behind, but we're just trying to meet them where they are, each one of them individually, all 18 of them, and make as much progress as we possibly can for each of them. If that means that we don't hit some of the things we're supposed to hit, like, you know, what are we supposed to do? These kids have been home for a really long time. And even the kids that weren't home, though, we can't forget, like even the ones that did come in person during hybrid, there were like 6 kids in the room at a time. It wasn't normal. It was half of a day for us. We did like a half day schedule, like just nothing was normal or typical. So even those kids, need some grace. So anyway, we're meeting our kids where they are. We're doing a lot of basic stuff. I shared in my story yesterday how we're starting writing. We're just starting with writing a sentence. We're not giving my students like a picture prompt and asking them to just like free write. They don't know how to do that. So we're starting with just writing sentences. We're using that product from my TPT store, using nouns and verbs in a sentence and creating one sentence. That's where we're starting. In reading, we're just starting with like beginning of first grade, basic reading passages with very simple questions that I got from the MoFat girls. In math, I am starting with my numbers to 20 packet, writing numbers, because some of my friends came back from the past year and a half, and they don't remember how to write some numbers. So I realized that in the past couple of days, and we are backtracking. We are using my numbers to 20 pack, the writing numbers part of it, and we are gonna practice writing some numbers. And we would have never thought in second grade that we would have to do something like this, but that is where they are at right now. That is where we are gonna meet them. So we are gonna write some numbers. In handwriting, we do teach handwriting. That's pretty much staying the same. We're just reviewing all the letters because a lot of them don't know how to write their letters still. In phonics, we are starting with first grade phonics skills. We're going to start with short vowels instead of in second grade. I believe we would have started with long vowels. Yeah, I believe I just named all the subjects. Science, social studies, we are just doing a lot of SEL stuff right now. Community building, friendship stuff. But we just have to meet them where they are because we don't feel like it is a typical year right now. And to add to the craziness, we have a massive bus driver shortage right now, and I think a lot of you guys also do. And because of that, some of our preschool students do not have busing right now. So we have emergency before and after care. So I've been volunteering, I get paid extra to go down to the preschool hallway in the morning at 7 o'clock. And I stay down there for about an hour and a half with some preschool kids until school starts. A couple of us are doing that. So we just found out yesterday that they could not figure out the bus driver shortage situation. They could not get more buses. So they are changing our school times. Just to add a little more fun to the school year, they are changing our times. So instead of us starting at 8:25, we are going to be starting at 8:55. And instead of ending at, I believe, 2:55, we are now ending at 3:15. So we will find out soon what that means for us, because now each of our time blocks or periods will have to shift and change. I don't know other than that what it really means for us, but that's what's going on. We just found that out last night. They had sent out a survey. They had first sent out a survey to all of the parents saying, if you can drive your child to school, please let us know, because then they could maybe reroute some of the bus routes and change some kids' buses and stuff and make it work. Clearly they can't make it work. So they have to change all of the schools in my district. Our times are changing. Whether you're starting earlier or later, everyone's times are changing because now they need to scatter it a certain way so that the buses we do have can bring all of the kids in the district to school. So yeah, that's what's happening. I will keep you guys updated on this. I kind of feel like we are back in last year when we were going from hybrid to virtual to all those different plans. This feels like just another plan, and it's making my head crazy, but it is what it is. And my co-teacher and I are just trying to be as flexible as possible this year and go with the flow. So what are you gonna do?